Prabhuji, I would like to share my screen.
Oh, yes. Good.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Is this your mum?
Yes, that's my mom.
Very good.
Yes, that's my mother.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you so much for joining
Hare
us.
Krishna Mataji, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Sitaram Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So thank you so much. Thank you very, very much for joining us today. So today we are about to embark on a very special journey to a very, very special temple of the Lord, Sri Rangam.
Jai.
It is, I'll let you see for yourself. I won't talk much. So, Sri Ranganatham Namami, in service of Sri Ranganatha Swami of Sri Rangam. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. I would like to begin with a very beautiful verse from a very beautiful stotram called the Sri Ranganatha Ashtakam, a set of 8 verses, beautifully composed by the great Guru, Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Translation credits, shlokam.org. Beautiful website, very neatly presented translation. So this is the verse. Anandarupe nijabodharupe Brahmaswarupe Shrutimurtirupe Shashankarupe Ramaniyarupe Shri Rangarupe Ramatam Manome. My mind is delightfully absorbed in the divine form of Sri Ranganatha, the embodiment of supreme bliss, immersed in his own self, the supreme truth, the supreme being, the essence of the Shrutis or the Vedas, who is and cool as the moon, and who is exceedingly beautiful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Sri Rangam is the first and the foremost of the 108 Divya Deshams glorified and praised in the Bandham, which is a collection of 4,000 Tamil verses in praise of Lord Sri Mahavishnu in his various forms. The word Nalayiram means 4,000 in Tamil. And Divya Prabandham means a collection of divine or a collection of verses in praise of the divine. So Srirangam is located close to Tiruchirappalli or Trichy city, as it is more commonly known, in the state of Tamil Nadu in Bharat, on the banks of the very sacred Kaveri river. Kaveri is one of the 7 ancient sacred rivers of Bharat. So the 7 ancient sacred rivers are Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, and Kaveri. Kaveri is also known as Dakshina Mandakini or Ganga of the south. Sri Rangam is a palatial temple complex. Palatial, the word fails to describe the true extent of how magnificent this temple complex really is. It spans 156 acres, having 7 concentric rectangular enclosures formed by huge thick walls. So these 7 enclosures run around the main sanctum. So the main is at the center, and there are 7 enclosures formed by these strong walls running all around the main sanctum. In total, across all these enclosures, there are 21 magnificent towers or entrance towers. So these towers are like a gateway. And when devotees pass through these towers or doors, so these towers serve more as gateways or entrances into the temple. So there are 21 of these towers all across the Srirangam temple complex. There are a total of about 81 shrines temple complex, including the main shrine, which houses the presiding deity, Sri Ranganatha Swami. The Rajagopuram, or the main temple tower, stands really, really tall at 200. And it rises up in 11 tiers or 11 levels. Words fail to describe how beautiful, how magnificent it really is. This is can attempt to show how beautiful Srirangam looks like from the top. It's an aerial view of the temple complex. The golden dome that you see at the center, that right under that dome is the presiding deity. So that is the dome directly above the Sanctum Sanctorum, the main shrine. And it is called the Vimanam, or the dome, decorating the rest, the presiding place of the deity. More about the presiding deity. Here, the presiding deity is Sri Ranganatha Swami or Mahavishnu, lying on the coiled body of the divine serpent Ananta or Adisesha. The word Ranga means stage or place of assembly. So for the Lord, the entire universe is a stage. The entire universe is a place of assembly because he's the Lord of the universe. And the word Natha means Lord or leader. And therefore, Mahavishnu here becomes Ranganatha, the Lord of the universe, the master of. How did the presiding deity come to reside at Srirangam? It has a long history. Let's attempt to trace it. As a result of Lord Brahma's prayers and meditation, the central shrine that we see at present-day Srirangam, along with its golden dome, or Vimana as it is called, appeared out of the ocean of milk in which Lord Mahavishnu eternally resides. Lord Brahma, he worshipped this deity in Brahmaloka or Satyaloka on the banks of the divine river Viraja, which separates the material universe from the spiritual universe. Now, Viraja, the water in Viraja, is not ordinary water. It is actually the perspiration that flows from the body of the Lord. So it is no ordinary river. So this Viraja river is like a border. It separates the material universe from the spiritual universe. And on the banks of the river Viraja is Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, where Lord Brahma resides. So this is where Lord Brahma worshipped the presiding deity of Sri Ranganatha Swami as we see him today for many years, for a very long time. And King Ikshvaku of the Surya Vamsha or the Solar Dynasty, in answer to this king's prayers and penance, Lord Brahma in turn, he presented the entire shrine along with the deity of Lord Ranganatha within it to King Ikshvaku. Now we know the dynasty in which Lord Rama was born, or when the dynasty in which Lord Rama appeared, is known also as the Ikshvaku dynasty because of this king. The entire dynasty descended from this king Ikshvaku. And so on. From then onwards, the deity passed to every king who succeeded Ikshvaku in that line. And eventually, this deity came to be worshipped by Lord Rama himself. At the time of Lord Rama's coronation as the king of Ayodhya, where Devi Sita, they all returned to Ayodhya after Ravana was destroyed. At the time of Lord Rama's coronation, or Pattabhishekam, as it is called in Sanskrit, Lord Rama, he presented this shrine along with the deity within to Maharaj Vibhishana, the brother of Ravana, who was a great, great devotee of the Lord. And so Vibhishana was on his way back to Lanka, carrying the shrine and the deity. On the way, he stopped briefly at a place where Srirangam is today. He stopped there for some rest. And when he attempted to lift the shrine and the deity back again, he found that he couldn't do it. For some reason, unknown to Maharaj Vibhishana at that time, the shrine and the deity, they got rooted right at that spot and refused to move an inch. So these beautiful paintings, these beautiful pictures, credits to holydham.com for so beautifully representing this entire story, this entire pastime in the form of these lovely, colorful pictures. So in the first picture, we see, I'm starting from the top left. The very first picture shows Lord Brahma and the sages and the demigods and goddesses and celestial beings worshipping Sri Ranganatha Swami in Satyaloka. The first two pictures, they show us that. And in the second set of pictures, side by side, they show King Ikshvaku or any of the previous kings prior to Lord Rama, as well as Lord Rama himself worshipping the deity in Ayodhya. And in the last set of pictures, we see Lord Rama presenting the shrine along with the deity to Maharaj Vibhishana, and Maharaj Vibhishana carrying the shrine and the deity over his head, and the shrine and the deity eventually getting rooted at Srirangam. So this is such a beautiful journey from Satyaloka to Saketapuri. Saketapuri is another name for Ayodhya. So from Satyaloka to Saketapuri and eventually to Srirangam. And now, why did the Lord choose to stay at Srirangam of all places? What is so special? What was the reason he chose to stay there? Now, there was a very righteous, very good king of the Chola dynasty in the south of Bharat. His name was Dharmavarma. He was a contemporary of Dasharatha, the father of Sri Rama. So he lived in about the same time period, approximately, as Lord Rama's father. Now we know that Maharaj Dasharatha, he performed the Putra Kameshti Yatnya in order to beget children. And as the fruit of the Putra Kameshti Yatnya, Lord Rama and his brothers, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna were born. So when Dharmavarma, this Chola king, Dharmavarma, when he attended the Putra Kameshti Yagya by Dashraja at Ayodhya, he happened to offer prayers to the deity of Sri Ranganatha, already being worshipped there ever since the time of King Ikshvaku. And he became very, very attracted to the beauty of the deity. And ever since, a desire arose in him to be able to worship the deity in his own land, in his own kingdom. So he began to pray to the Lord for an opportunity to offer that service. And eventually his prayers were answered when the deity, along with the shrine, got rooted at the place where the temple stands today. while Vibhishana stopped very briefly on his way back to Lanka with the deity presented by Sri Rama. Dharmavarma had a very large, magnificent temple built for the Lord, but over time, the shrine got lost in the flood waters when the island was flooded. Now, Srirangam is a river island. It is bound by the river Kaveri and its tributary Kolledam on all sides. So it is like an island standing in the middle, bound by these two rivers. So over time, due to flooding and due to changes in the geography of that place, the shrine got lost and it faded out of the memory of the people for some time. Years and years later, another king of the Chola dynasty set out with his army in search of this very same deity because he had been commanded to do so by the Lord himself in a divine dream. After hours and hours of searching, the king decided to rest for some time with his army under a tree when he noticed a very beautiful parrot on the branch directly above him where he was sitting. And imagine his astonishment, surprise, when the parrot started to sing. Kaveri Virajaseyam Vaikuntham Rangamandiram Sa Vasudevo Rangeshah Pratyaksham Paramam Padam Vimanam Pranavakaram Vedashringam Mahadbhutam Shri Rangashayi Bhagavan Pranavartha Prakashakah. The river Kaveri is none other than the divine river Viraja, and this island, Srirangam, is verily Vaikuntha on earth. Sri Ranganatha is the supreme Lord Vasudeva himself, the ultimate goal of all, and is present here, right at the spot, inside a Vimana, which is a dome above a shrine. This Vimana itself is in the shape of the sacred syllable Om or Pranava, and the Lord resides here as its true essence, as its true meaning. So listening to the parrot speak these words, the king was excited. He knew that they had arrived at the right spot. The soldiers then hurriedly dug up the area, and very soon the beautiful shrine was rediscovered. The king then had a large, beautiful temple built at the spot where the shrine was unearthed, and thus Srirangam was restored to its former glory. So, I would like to sing just a couple of lines from a very beautiful kriti or kirtanam or song composed in the traditional Carnatic Sangeet style of South Bharat. This beautiful song has been composed by a very great soul, very great saint called Muthuswami Dikshitar, who lived sometime in the late 18th to early 19th century. If I am not wrong, he was born sometime in the year 1775 and attained mukti in about the year 1835. So the photograph below is that of his eventual resting place or samadhi. So there is a deity, there is an idol of Muthuswami Dikshitar that is worshipped. And below is the veena that he personally used while composing music. This is a very favorite song of mine, and as well as of my father. So I would just like to sing just 2 lines. So it's called Sri Rangapura Vihara, meaning the Lord who resides at Sri Rangapuram or Sri Ranga. Rangapura Vihara Sriranga Puravihara Jaya Kodandaramavatar Raghuvira Sriranga Puravihara Jaya Kodandaramavatar Raghuvira Sriranga Puravihara. Victory unto Sri Rama, who holds the divine bow, Kodanda, the valiant, the courageous warrior, Raghuvira of the Raghu dynasty, the supreme lord who dwells at Sri Rangam or Sri Rangapura. When we talk about any Vaishnava temple in the south of Bharat, and especially when we talk about Sri Rangam, we have to invariably also learn or talk about the Arvars, who are some of the greatest souls or devotees or saints to have ever lived or graced the earth with their presence. So the Arvars are Sri Vaishnava devotee saints who lived in the south of Bharat. They are so named because of the intense depth of their devotion towards Lord Vishnu. The word Aram in Tamil means depth. So deep was their devotion that they came to be known as Arvars. They were not ordinary beings, not ordinary human beings, but divine souls who had reincarnated in human form solely for the purpose of spreading the message of devotion towards the Supreme Lord, Sri Mahavishnu, in his various forms. The 12 Arvars are, number 1, Poigai Arvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's Shankha or conch, named Panchajanya. Number 2, Bhudat Arvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's Gada or mace called Kaumodaki. Number 3, Peyarvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's sword, Nandaka. Number 4, Tirumalisai Arvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's Chakra, Sudarshana. Number 5, Madhurakavi Arvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's divine vehicle, Garuda. Number 6, Nammarvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's commander-in-chief, Vishwaksena. Number 7, Kulashekara Arvar. He was a king, a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's jewel, divine jewel, Kaustubha. Number 8, Periyarvar, who again was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's divine vehicle, Garuda. Number 9, Andal, who was a reincarnation of Bhudevi, or Mother Earth, the Earth Goddess. She was the foster daughter of Periyarvar. Number 10, Tondaradipudi Arvar, who was a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's flower garland, Vanamala. Number 11, Tiruppan Arvar, a reincarnation of Sri Vatsa, the auspicious mark on the chest of Lord Mahavishnu. Number 12, Tirumangai Arvar, a reincarnation of Sri Mahavishnu's bow, Saranga or Sharanga. So towards the end of the Vishnu Sahasranamam, we come across many of these names of the Lord. For example, Vanamali, Gadi, Shargi, Shankhi, Chakri, Cha, Nandaki. All on the basis of the Lord holding each of these divine weapons. So Vanamali, because he wears the divine garland Vanamala. Gadi, because he holds the Gada, Kaumodaki. Chakri, Vanamali Gadi Sharngi. Sharngi, because he holds the divine bow, Sharanga. Shankhi, because he holds the Shankha. Chakri, because he holds the Sudarshana Chakra. And Nandaki, because he holds the divine sword, Nandaka. So these 12 arvars, each of them, they composed a different number of divine verses in the ancient Tamil language in praise of Lord Mahavishnu. These verses are called Pasuram, and yet another devotee of the Lord called Tiruvarangattu Amudanar, he did the work of compiling these different verses together into one large collection, which we know today as the Nalayira Divya Prabandham. To talk about a very, very special devotee of the Lord, when we talk about Srirangam, we cannot not talk about Andal. Her very name suggests she was one who ruled over the Lord himself. So great, so great, so deep was her devotion. So this is a painting, a traditional painting of Devi Andal. Now, there was a very devout Brahmin, Vaishnava Brahmin named Vishnu Chitta, who lived in the village of Srivilliputtur near present-day Madurai city in Tamil Nadu. So his task was to pick flowers for the daily worship of Lord Vishnu in the local temple, make garlands out of those flowers and offer those garlands to the Lord. So one such day, while picking flowers in the garden, he found a beautiful baby girl lying under a tulsi plant in that very same garden. And having no family of his own, he took the baby girl as his own child, considering her to be a gift, a blessing from the Lord. She came to be known as Godai or Kodai, meaning gift of Mother Earth, and grew up to be a divinely beautiful girl, divinely beautiful young woman. She grew up listening to the Leelas of Sri Krishna. Her love for the Lord intensified by leaps and bounds. It increased exponentially. And she made up her mind to marry only Sri Krishna and no one else. Her mind was fixed. Unknown to others, she used to adorn herself daily with the flower garland that her father prepared for the Lord. So she used to take the garland that was meant for Lord Vishnu in the nearby temple, and she used to wear it herself. And then she would admire her reflection in the well. She would imagine herself to be Krishna's bride. And after admiring her reflection, after taking joy in her imagination, she would put the garland back. Her father never knew about it. He would offer the garland as is to the Lord. But one day, Vishnu Chitta, he happened to notice a strand of hair, Godai's hair, his daughter's hair, in one of the garlands. And he guessed what must have happened. He was terribly upset at Godai for having apparently desecrated the offering of the Lord. He scolded her. Do you have any idea what you wearing garlands meant for the Lord? And look, you have made it impure. I found a strand of your hair in the garland. I'm very disappointed in you. I did not expect that you would do this. And he was so upset, he immediately discarded that garland and he made a fresh one to offer to the Lord. Now, That very night, God appeared in Vishnu Chitta's dream. And he asked him, "Why did you discard the garland that Godai had worn? I miss that garland, you know. I will not accept any other garland. I want only that garland which has been worn previously by Godai. So please continue to do that. Do not discard any garland that she has worn." So Vishnu Chitta did not know what to say. He was so overwhelmed. He was choked with joy. And he also repented at the same time, because it was only then that he realized the real extent, the true extent of his daughter's love and devotion for the Lord. That day onwards, Godai came to be known as Andal, she who ruled over the Lord himself, she who won over the Lord with her devotion. When Andal attained suitable marriageable age, she stubbornly insisted that she would marry only Lord Ranganatha of Srirangam and no one else. Her father tried everything. She said, "No, I am not going to marry any ordinary mortal. My heart has been given to Krishna already, and I will marry only Ranganatha and no one else." And Lord Ranganatha also appeared in Vishnu Chitta's dream and asked that Andal be sent to him, dressed in all her wedding finery. At the same time, he also appeared before the priests at Srirangam and asked them to prepare for Andal's arrival. He said, "Andal is going to come, and I want you to prepare for her arrival. I want you to make all grand preparations for the wedding." He was joyous that his daughter, as a father, he was also sorrowful that a separation was about to happen. But nevertheless, he made the grandest of preparations for Andal's wedding. And Andal, in her turn, she eagerly awaited her union for the Lord. She had waited long, long enough. As the wedding procession approached the Srirangam temple, Andal, unable to control herself anymore, she jumped out of her palanquin, her palki, in which she was being carried. She rushed towards the sanctum sanctorum of the temple, and embracing Sri Ranganatha, she became one with him in a brilliant flash. She disappeared before the eyes of every single person present at that spot. And this is why Andal and Ranganatha Swami are inseparable. This photograph is a very beautiful deity of Andal in a special shrine in the Srirangam temple complex. All of mirrors. There are about at least 3 shrines for Andal in the entire temple complex. Any questions so far? Anything to say?
Little bit we lost you, but very nice pastime. And
where did you lose me, Prabhuji? I can repeat that. Like
no, that's okay. Andal is incredible personality. Is she partial, perhaps incarnation of Lakshmi Devi?
Some say that as far as I have read, she is a partial incarnation of Bhu Devi.
Oh yeah,
Mother Earth, the goddess. In most Vaishnava temples in the south, you always see Lord Vishnu with both Sri Devi and Bhu Devi on both his sides. So Devi Lakshmi, Sri Devi is on one side, and Bhu Devi, she is on. So Andal is a partial incarnation of Bhu Devi.
Okay, thank you for very nice pastime.
Thank you, Prabhuji. All glories to the Lord.
Very good.
So Andal is, as we just learned, She's believed to be Bhumi Devi or Bhu Devi or Mother Earth, incarnate in human form, who appeared to show mankind the path of true devotion. She is the only female among the 12 Arvas. Her foster father, Sri Vishnu Chitta, is affectionately called Periya Arvar. The word Periya meaning elder or great on account of being father-in-law to the Lord himself. So Srivilliputtur, the place where Andal appeared as a little baby, is thus the blessed land to have been the birthplace of 2 of the 12 Arvas. The home of Vishnu Chitta or the home of Periyarvar was converted into a temple for his daughter Andal. This Andal temple, it contains the well in which Andal used to admire her reflection while wearing garlands made by her father for Lord Mahavishnu. The main shrine at this Andal temple houses gigantic deities of Andal, Rangamannar or Ranganatha the king, and Garuda standing alongside both of them with his hands folded in prayer. So these deities are, they appear as if carved out of the wall, I believe, in the Sanctum Sanctorum. So they are actually very gigantic. They are very, very large in size. But these large deities are visible only when the priest offers arati or Deeparadhana, because the space inside is quite dark and not visible very clearly in normal daylight. But the festive deities or the Utsava Murtis or Abhisheka Murtis as they are called of Andal, Ranganatha or Rangamannar, the king. The word Mannar in Tamil means king or emperor. So because he arrived as a king to ask for Andal's hand in marriage, he is also called Rangamannar. And Garuda, these 3 festive deities, they are visible at all times. This is a very rare instance of Garuda standing beside the Lord in the Sanctum Sanctorum, because usually shrines for Garuda are outside the Sanctum Sanctorum, not alongside the Lord, but outside. So there are separate shrines for Garuda usually in most Vaishnava temples, but this is a very, very rare instance where the Lord is present along with Garuda in the same shrine. So on the top, you see the 3 Abhisheka Murtis of Rangamannar or Lord Ranganatha as the king in the center. There is Andal to his right, and there is Garuda, his divine vehicle, standing with his hands folded in prayer. Below is yet another photo of Andal and Rangamannar, dressed in all their regal finery. The Tulasi garden, also called Nandavanam, in Srivilliputtur, in which Vishnu Chitta found Andal as a baby, is preserved to this day. So on the top, you see the entrance to the garden. The gardens is on both sides, and ahead is the entrance to a small temple dedicated to Srimati Andal and Srimati Tulasi Devi. Below is the beautiful deity of Andal in that temple. So this entire temple complex can be split into sort of 2 wings. So in the southwest, you have the Andal temple, and in the northeast wing, we have the temple of Lord Vishnu, called where Lord Vishnu is called Vatapatrashai. And so in between these 2 wings is this garden or Nandavanam. Beautiful place. I wish I could go there soon.
You're not going anywhere without us.
Yes, yes, yes. We'll all go together. True, true. The Vatapatrashai temple. So This temple is dedicated to Sri Mahavishnu, again lying on the coiled body of Ananta or Adisesha, on top of a banyan leaf or Vatapatra. So the word Vata in Sanskrit means banyan tree and Patra meaning leaf. And because the Lord is lying down on top of that banyan leaf, he is also called Vatapatra Shayi. Shayanam meaning to lie down. So this Vatapatra Shayi deity that you see in the photographs is that very same deity that Vishnu Chitta or Periyarvar used to worship with his own hands every day with the garlands first worn by Andal. So this is the same deity that Andal and her father Vishnu Chitta used to worship, and that devotees today have the good fortune of worshipping. So this deity is quite large, it's quite gigantic, as only a portion of the deity is seen in the photos. But to the three smaller Abhisheka Murtis or smaller festive deities that we can see in front. So even today, in keeping with the tradition, garlands offered to Devi Andal this evening are offered to Sri Vatapatra Shayi Perumal or Lord Vatapatra Shayi the next morning. So both these temples, as I mentioned earlier, are in the same complex in the southwest and the northeast wings, respectively. The Lord is seen facing east, and he's surrounded by Sri Devi or Devi Mahalakshmi, Bhudevi or Mother Earth, Maharshi Bhrigu, and Maharshi Markandeya, and other demigods. So they are all present in the Sanctum Sanctorum. But as I said, only a portion of the deity can be seen in these photos. Traditionally, one must first offer prayers to Srimati Andal and only then proceed to worship Sri Vatapatra Shayi Perumal. Next, we'll talk briefly about a very sacred poem called the Tirupavai. Tirupavai is a sacred poem of 30 verses in which Andal imagines herself as a Gopika of Vrajabhumi. The Tirupavai reflects her yearning to serve Sri Krishna for all eternity. She describes the sacred pavai or the religious vow that she has undertaken or she will undertake along with her fellow Gopikas. During the Tamil month of Margari, which occurs between mid-December to mid-January, these 30 verses of the Tirupavai are recited with great devotion by the devotees. In Sanskrit, it is especially sacred to Lord Sri Krishna, and devotees dedicate the month of Margashirsha to the worship of the Lord. The Lord himself, Sri Krishna, says in chapter 10 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, also known as Vibhuti Yoga, he says, Masanam Margashirsho Aham. Among the months, I am Margashirsha. So I would like to quickly recite just one out of these 30 verses. We earlier learned that each of the verses composed by the Arvars in praise of Lord Vishnu are called Pachuram. So this is verse 24 or Pachuram number 24 of the Tirupavai. So on top is the Tamil text, below is the text in English, and lastly there is the translation of this verse. So I'll just sing it briefly. அன்றிவுலகம் அளந்தாயடி போற்றி அன்றே உலகம் அளந்தாய் அடி போற்றி சென்றங்கு தென் இலங்கை செற்றாய் திரள் போற்றி சென்றங்கு தென் இலங்கை செற்றாய் திரள் போற்றி பொன்ற ஜகடம் உதைத்தாய் புகழ் போற்றி பொன்ற ஜகடம் உதைத்தாய் புகழ் போற்றி கன்று குணிலாவெறிந்தாய் கழல் போற்றி கன்று குணிலாவெறிந்தாய் கழல் போற்றி குன்று குடையாய் எடுத்தாய் குணம் போற்றி குன்று குடையாய் எடுத்தாய் குணம் போற்றி வென்று பகை கெடுக்கும் நின் கையில் வேல் போற்றி வென்று பகை கெடுக்கும் நின் கையில் வேல் போற்றி என்றென்றும் முன் சேவகமே ஏத்தி பறை கொள்வான் என்றென்றும் முன் சேவகமே ஏத்தி பறை கொள்வான் இன்று யாம் வந்தோம் இரங்கேலோரும் பாவாய் இன்று யாம் வந்தோம் இரங்கேலோரும் பாவாய் அன்றே உலகம் அளந்தாய் அடி போற்றி
Amazing. Thank you very much. Amazing.
Salutations, victory unto your lotus feet that measured the entire universe in 2 steps. Victory unto your power by which you destroyed the wicked Ravana's Lanka. Victory unto you, O Supreme One, who kicked the life out of the cart-shaped demon Shakatasura. Victory unto you, who killed the demon Vatsasura, who appeared in the form of a calf by flinging him against a tree. Victory unto your divine qualities, O Krishna, by which you lifted the mighty Govardhana mountain and held it aloft as an umbrella to protect the torrential storms. Victory unto the spear or the divine weapon that you hold in your hand, which destroys all evil. We shall always sing only your praises, dear Lord. Unable to wait for your arrival, we have come to you today. Please, please shower your grace on us. Hare Krishna. Sarvam Krishna Arpanamastu.
Jai Shruti. Fantastic. Well done. Beautifully explained. So next week, you are continuing with the...
Yes, Prabhuji,
Very
because
good.
there are so many
Good.
details to be covered. There's so much more.
Excellent.
What we learned today, what we shared today is probably just a fraction.
Yeah.
Just an introduction into
Yeah.
a few of the aspects. But there are many other details as well. So
Very good.
I hope to share them next week.
Fantastic. Well done. Really good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shruti Mataji, you know the photographs, a couple of ones before this, the deity was lying down. Is that the only one that is around? Because I remember going to South India, one temple, the deity is lying down and it comes out to be given darshan every 40 years. Is that the same one?
No, that is the Attivaradar temple in Kanchipuram.
Oh, okay.
So there are many temples in South Bharat where the Lord is seen lying on Adisesha.
Yeah.
He's seen in that Ananta Shayanam, that is the pose of the Lord. He's seen in that pose in many temples.
Okay.
There may be variations in the form of the deity in these temples, but yes, the one that you're talking about is
Kanchipuram.
Kanchipuram. So in Kanchipuram, there is the very famous temple for the Lord called the Sri Varadaraja Perumal temple.
Yeah.
So this deity that you mentioned is called Attivaradar. So Attivaradar because the deity is not kept for worship regularly.
Yeah.
the deity is brought out only once in 40 years, as you
Yeah.
rightly mentioned. And that occasion is very rare. I think the Lord, the deity was last brought out 2 years ago.
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah, you were there at that time.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely.
We
Yes,
did the darshan. It was quite quite an experience.
It is beautiful, 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 very beautiful.
Yes, very, very beautiful.
So
Too much,
then
too
we
much
brought-
crowd.
Of course, because it's such a rare occasion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Only once in 40 years. So the next time
Yeah.
it's going to be in 2059. Wow.
Okay. Ah,
That's
Okay.
quite many years ahead.
yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for that. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments? Brilliant. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you,
Krishna,
Mataji.
धन्यवाद. Thank you very much. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Thank you, Surendra Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank
Yeah.
you, Ganga Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate the part on the alvars. I don't know if I'm saying the word properly. When I touring the south of Bharat, then I saw many of these small deities all around in some temples, and I was always questioning myself, who are they? Why are they so much present in many temples? So I asked one of the pujaris from South India here, and well, he gave me some explanation that today really I appreciate the details that you gave about the different incarnations that there are. It's really nice. So now I've understood why they are always around. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you
good
for that.
point. Very
Amujay,
good point.
thank you, Shruti ji. Very nice class.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Karuna, you made a very, very good point. It's good to know how important these alvas are. So thank you. And thank you, Shruti, for
It's
spending.
they are just like the Goswami and the other
Yeah. Yeah.
the incarnation of all the Gopi, Manjari.
Paraphernalia of the
So
Lord.
very closely related. Very nice to know about it. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Fantastic.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, Shruti.
Thank you,
Hari Bol.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shruti, the stories are sweet, but your voice is even sweeter. So it makes them so sweet that we want to keep listening.
So
Oh,
sweet, we
that's
might get diabetes.
No, we won't get diabetes. Krishna
Transit-
story doesn't give
tra-
diabetes.
Transcendental diabetes, of course.
Hare Krishna.
Very good.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Fantastic. Well done, Shruti. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.